So I think it's time for an update on the cost of living in Cincinnati, Ohio. So much has happened over the last several years that have affected costs in this country. We had the whole pandemic, which disrupted a lot of things. Inflation was really high at one point. We're closing in on a big election year in which the outcome will likely affect costs even more in some way. So if you're thinking about relocating to Cincinnati or somewhere near Cincinnati soon, stay tuned. We are going to talk about everything you need to know about what it actually costs to live in Cincinnati, Ohio right now. What's up, it's Victor Pham, your Cincinnati realtor. If you are new to this channel, here we talk about all things Cincinnati. We talk about all things related to real estate in Cincinnati. And on this channel, you will learn everything you need to know about living in Cincinnati, Ohio. So if that sounds like some stuff that could benefit you, please consider subscribing to the channel. Now, first off, let's address inflation, because if you work for a living and spend money to live, you have definitely noticed how expensive things have gotten over the last 5 years or so. This is a chart from the Bureau of Labor Statistics showing the inflation trend since 2014. You can see it was very low in 2014 at around 1.8, remained fairly stable until around 2021 when it took a leap up to 2.6. This is around the whole beginning of the pandemic thing, when things really started to get crazy. Home buyers were out here crazily overpaying for homes in fear of missing out because of the interest rates were so low at the time. People were paying anything just to own a home, $20,000, $30,000, $50,000 over the list price, insanely inflating the price of real estate for everyone. So if you ever wonder why prices are so ridiculous right now for homes, it's because of the buyers, the consumer. If a house is listed at $300,000 and you come along and say, hey, I want that house more than the other 5 people that want it, and you write an offer on it and say, I'll give you $350,000. Well, guess what? That house is no longer worth $300,000. It's now worth $350,000 because that's what you decided it was worth. Then when millions of people started following the same trend, you get home prices that are at all-time highs, making the demand higher and very difficult for the average person to even afford to buy a home. But I digress. In 2022, inflation rate exploded 3 times, up past 6%. And then I think it got close to 8% at one point. Then as we are approaching the end of 2024, it has been steadily decreasing, which is great. I think at the time of me making this video, they have it right around 2.5%, which is the lowest it's been since 2021. And it looks like it will likely trend downward. So that's a really good sign. So ultimately, inflation is going to have a huge effect on every aspect of your life as a consumer, not just home prices, but rental prices, food, gas, everything. Hopefully they can get it back down to a healthy inflation rate of 2% and keep it there. Like I said, we do have that big election right around the corner, and generally they do like to stimulate the economy around election time. Hopefully they continue to stimulate it in a good way. By the way, guys, if you're thinking about making a move to Cincy soon and you need help in the buying process, feel free to reach out to me. I'm helping people buy and sell real estate in Cincy and the Cincy suburbs all the time. I'm sure I can help you too. Give me a call, shoot me a text, email, whatever works best for you. I got your back. You can always call Vic. Now, renting and buying in Cincinnati, since we're still on the housing topic, let's talk about that. The average list price for a home in Cincinnati right now is $290,000, with the average actual sold price around $293,000. This is according to Realtor.com. And that is the equivalent to about $177 per square foot in Cincinnati, Ohio. Now, Cincinnati, Ohio, being in what is considered the Midwest, does have some of the cheaper home prices than other more populated regions like the West Coast and East Coast and the Florida region. Comparing that $177 per square foot that you'll get in Cincinnati to other regions, you see the big difference. In Pasadena, California, you're paying $774 per square foot. Portland, Oregon, $331 per square foot. Boston, $906 per square foot, which is insane. West Palm Beach, Florida, $275 per square foot. So Cincinnati is probably one of the most reasonable areas in this aspect, even though we don't have all the beaches and glamorous weather and whatnot. How about if you're going to be renting a place in Cincinnati? This is some data from apartments.com. According to it, in Cincinnati, the average for a studio is about $1,064 per month, and that is a 510 square foot space on average. $1,075 for a one bedroom at 664 square feet, $1,330 for a two bed at 946 square feet, and a little over $1,600 a month for a 3-bed at a little over 1,200 square feet. And I can attest personally, as someone who manages tenants, and I have dealt with a lot of leases and a lot of adjusting of rents to meet the market standards. These numbers are pretty accurate, guys. I would definitely say that the numbers would represent the better and more desirable areas and higher quality properties. You can get some spaces significantly cheaper if you're willing to compromise for a B grade or C grade area or lower. But these averages are accurate for the better areas. So just like with the home prices, rents have been steadily increasing over the years as well. It's tough for renters, just like it is buyers. So whether you're renting or buying in Cincinnati, do understand what you're getting for these different size properties and spaces. Another important topic when relocating to another city is food costs. What is it going to cost to live in this place? Now, with the inflation issues we've had in recent years, food costs have been affected right along with the housing. The most common data is telling us that the average grocery cost has increased almost 30%, with eggs being one of the most drastically affected items, increasing by more than 50% since 2020. Now, let's do a little shopping and see what it is costing for a typical grocery visit. I found this article that collected some data and gave a list about the most common items people buy in a grocery store. Here's what they had on it. Bread is number one on the list, followed by packaged meats, peanut butter and jelly, eggs, laundry detergent, milk, salty snacks, frozen dinners, cereal, and soda. So let's go to Kroger, our Kroger website that is, and do some shopping with those items. Kroger is the most common grocery chain in the Cincinnati area if you're not familiar with them. And I'm just going to add these common items to our cart just to get an idea of what a typical grocery visit might cost us in Cincy. So I added all 10 of those items we just discussed in my cart, and here's the total right here. That's what you're going to pay for those common items in the Cincinnati area on average. Now let's compare that to a random city with the same list. How about Houston, Texas? Same items. Here is what you would pay. And how about Jacksonville, Florida? Same items. Here's what you will pay in Jacksonville. So apparently, yes, there is some differences based on your location. I'm curious to know what you guys are paying. You folks that are watching this and not living in Cincinnati right now, how are the prices in your city compared to what we're paying here in Cincinnati? Let me know in the comments. Gas prices is another thing people pay attention to, especially people coming from California and places like the West Coast, where the gas prices are much higher than what you'll see in the South or here in the Midwest. Here's a little graphic from AAA.com. You'll see the national average for fuel right now is right around $3.25 per gallon, which is fairly low compared to what we were seeing in previous years. If we click on Ohio right here, we can narrow down to see what Cincinnati gas prices look like. So the average in the state of Ohio is just over $3 a gallon. In Hamilton County, it's slightly under that. Hamilton County is where Cincinnati is located. On the outside counties, Butler County, slightly under $3 as well. And Claremont and Warren counties, pretty much the same. So everywhere near Cincy, you're right around $3 a gallon. I honestly feel like it will get much lower than that soon after this election gets underway. That is typically what you'll see during an election year. That gas price will get really low, usually right after the election. Now, we can't skip over EV cars. Electric vehicles are having a pretty big movement right now. You got a lot of different companies making EVs right now outside of Tesla. If you have not been paying attention to this movement, then you probably should. California is actually leading the charge on this. The state plans on banning the sale of new gas vehicles in the year 2035. And there are other states following the trend. So it's likely that that trend will start to move east sooner or later. But EV charging in Ohio is amongst one of the cheapest states if you're talking about kilowatt hours. The average in Ohio is about 38 cents per kilowatt hour compared to the national average of 45 cents per kilowatt hour. Now, of course, it can depend on where you're charging and what type of charging you're doing. The superchargers will charge much faster, but are also known to be much more expensive. But EV drivers will probably do pretty good in Cincinnati, especially if you can take advantage of any free chargers that your employers or different shopping centers might offer. Or you can do like some of my clients have done in the past and just install one in their home and just eat the energy bill themselves. So for now, gas prices, EV charging, pretty affordable, but we know that with the economy, things can and will fluctuate. One final topic you should know about if you're moving to Cincinnati are the taxes. And you have different taxes living here in Cincinnati. First one is the state tax, which sucks if you're coming from a state like Texas, which has no state tax. In Ohio, the state tax rate is about 5.75, meaning the state is going to tax you on your income and purchases that you might make. In addition to that, Hamilton County can levy an additional sales tax, taking it close to 8%. I just had a pretty major repair done on my vehicle and they taxed me 7.8% on that sale, which is nuts. I had no idea that it had gotten that high. But the good part is that for most groceries and unprepared food, you won't be taxed on that, which is great if you don't eat out a lot and you buy a lot of your food in the grocery store. There is also a property tax if you own a home, which can get really expensive depending on the area you choose. In fact, in that regard, Ohio is not one of the cheapest places to live if you're worried about property taxes. Hamilton County is getting people for pretty close to 2% per year on their assessed value of their home. So for example, if your home is assessed at $350,000, you're going to pay anywhere from $57,000 to maybe around $6,000 per year alone in taxes, which if the taxes are fixed into your mortgage, it's about $500 per month. So a significant amount of people's mortgages these days are taxes, which is insane. But that is one of the harsh realities of owning a home in the Cincinnati area. Like I mentioned earlier, however, the cheaper home prices does kind of help to balance or offset the cost some, depending on, of course, which city or state you are comparing this to. But I do hope that helps you understand a bit more about what it costs to live in Cincinnati, Ohio. Feel free to reach out to me if you're thinking about making a move to Cincy or any of the Cincinnati suburbs and you want to chat about the home buying process. I would love to have a conversation with you. If you want to learn more about what it's actually like living in Cincinnati, Ohio, check out these videos right here. I will see you next time, and remember, when it comes to houses in Cincinnati, you can always call Vic.